Hi guys, this is the video for Chapter 9, Lesson 4. So in this lesson, we're going to be taking a look at two transformations. So this lesson is called Compositions of Transformations, but it's really saying there's two transformations going on. And what we're going to look at are glide reflections. So when we think of a glide, that's where it's going through a translation. And then a reflection is exactly what it sounds like, right? Just a straight up reflection. So basically, you are just doing what you've learned in lesson 1 and lesson 2 and putting them together. So in this example, let's just walk through this example here. It says triangle ABC has vertices A, B, and C. So there's these points, graph ABC and its image after a translation along -2, -1. And so remember, we talked about how these little brackets show the movement of what's going on. And so -2 is in place of where the X is, -1 is in place of where the Y is. And so when it says -2, it means it's going left on the X-axis because towards the left is more negative. And then -1 means it's going down on the y-axis because when it's a negative number, it means it's going towards the more negative side, going down. Okay, so if these were positive, then it would be going right and up, right? So the movement of this is that it's going 2 to the left and then 1 down. Then it says a reflection in the x-axis. So we took some notes. This should be in your notebook, but we took some notes over reflections, and I highlighted that right here. But this basically said when I have this y and this x, and this y equals x, and x equals y type of thing, this really just means where the reflection, the line of reflection is happening. So reflection over y, reflection over x, reflection over the y equals x, and reflection over x equals y. So if it says it's reflection, the reflection is in the x-axis, then we're going to use this template right here. Okay, so first we have to go through the translation. So step 1 would be to basically, really, we could add -2 and -1 to all of the points and plot the new points down. So you're going to draw two pictures. Well, actually, you're not quite going to, you're going to draw the original. So you're going to draw this picture down first and then have it go through the translation. Then use the new points of the translation and now record the points for the reflection. So notice that because this is A'1, meaning it's gone through one translation, and then the last point has two little apostrophes. That's because it's gone through two translations. So every little mark here shows how many times this image has gone through a change. So let's do practice 1, exercise number 1. And all of these have a triangle with these vertices. So first thing is for us to plot those points and to record X, Y, Z. So these are my points. And then it's going through a translation of 2, 1. So actually, let me plot my points first. And I'm going to count it by 2s just because my grid isn't very big. So 1, 2, or 2, 4, 6, 2, 4, 5. So there's my X. And then 2, 4, 6, 7, 4. Ooh, this might be small. There's my Y. And then 5, -5. Ooh, 5. Ooh, -5 down here. Okay, so my triangle looks kind of like this. Very skinny, narrow triangle here. Okay, going through a translation means it's now moving to the right 1 and 2 down. So I'm just going to add 1 to my X value and 2 to my Y value. I'm putting a little mark there to show that's gone through one translation or one transformation. Okay, so these are my points after I've added 1 to the x values and 2 to the y values. Now, I don't need to plot this yet because my next transformation is the reflection. So let me do x, y, z, now that it's gone through reflection. And if I look up here at my notes, the reflection over the y-axis basically says I just make my x a negative and keep everything else the same. So this becomes negative 7, 7. This becomes negative 8, 6. And this becomes negative 6, negative 3. That stays the same. So now those are my points. Negative 7, 7. X. Y, negative 8, 6. And Z, negative 6, negative 3. I think it's up here actually. That's my Z. Okay, now I connect my points. There it is. So see how it's reflected over this y-axis, but also it's moved up 1 and over 2. So it's not quite an exact reflection because there's also been some movement that's gone on. The glide has happened, right? Okay, number 2. So same points again. And I might plot my points because it's the same triangle. And those are my points. Those are my, so every picture I think I should have an original image. Okay, so that's my original image. And then it's going through transformation. So I'm going to do the X, Y, Z after it's gone through a transformation because I have this already basically, right? All of my shapes are starting off like that. Okay, so I'm going to add negative 3 to 6, which is 3. And this will be 9. This will be 4 and 8. This will be 2, negative 1. Okay, now it's going through my reflection. So after it's gone through my reflection, I'm reflecting over the x-axis. So my y is going to become the opposite. So see how this changes where my x, y becomes x and negative y. So this becomes 3, negative 9, 4, negative 8, and 2, 1, because this was negative, so the opposite is 1. So now I'm going to go 3, negative 9. Ooh. And then 4, negative 8. And 2, 1. Okay, so it's just flipped over across the x-axis. And it's also gone through a movement, but that's my image now. Good, and I could label the points too. Okay, translation along 2, 0. So it's just going to the right 2. And then the reflection of y equals, or x equals y. And the x equals y reflection is a line of reflection going like this. So with my original image, again, right, I have my image like this, x, y, z. So imagine after it's gone through the translation, it's then reflecting diagonally kind of like over here like that. So I just wanted to give you a little visual of what that looked like. Okay, so after it's gone through the translation, this would become 8, 5, 9, 4, and 7, -5. Okay, for this translation, if we look back up, x equals y, they both become the opposite and are switched in position. So this becomes -5, -8. This becomes -4, -9. And this becomes 5, -7, because this originally was -5. Okay, so let's plot our points. -5, -8, -4, -9, and then 5, -7. Cool. Okay, that's what it looks like right there. I know my drawing's not the best, but there it is. Okay, so there's a reflection there. Okay, I think you guys can work out number 4, so try that out on your own. And then let's just talk about these composition of reflections. So this is where it's basically saying there's more than just one reflection going on. It's a reflection over lines. And so one thing that we see that's interesting is when a reflection is reflected over parallel lines twice, it actually ends up being the same thing as a transformation. So read through this. The composition of two reflections in parallel lines is the same as a translation. So if you imagine this triangle A is reflected, so then it reflects across, looks like that, right? Then this reflects over again across the parallel line. We'll see what's going on. They are back at the same exact position, just moved over. So this looks like it's just translated, it's just glided over. And so something worth noting is that two reflections, it's gonna be hard for me to write, over parallel lines is basically equal to a translation or a glide. Translation. Okay. So let's practice this a little bit. We don't have two parallel lines for every single image, but I just like you to roughly draw what's going on. We're going to reflect over line A and then over line B. So reflecting over line A, if you imagine your image is just a reflection looking like this, and then reflecting over B would be something like that, right? Okay, your battery. This one might be a little bit tricky, but reflecting over line A. So I think it's going to kind of look like this. And then reflecting over line B is going to look kind of like this. And if you want to kind of measure out the vertices and kind of, make the right angle on the line and measure it out, you could do that. But I'm not looking for exact drawings. I just want you to kind of get an idea. So reflection over A, and then reflection over B. So you want to also think spatially. It's this far away from the line. So when I draw my image, it's going to be that same distance from the line. And then look at this. This triangle P is just a translation, right? It's just moved down, okay? Okay, reflecting over A, let's see. think it's going to reflect. Oh, that's B actually. So this one might be a little bit trickier, but reflecting over A would make it going like this. And then reflecting over B would kind of make it right there. It's not the greatest drawing, but it looks something like that. So not perfect, but just roughly getting an idea of what the reflection would look like. So you will need to know this truth. Two reflections over parallel lines. It's the same thing as a translation, but you will not be tested over drawing these perfect reflections, okay? You will need to know how to do glide reflections on a coordinate plane, but as long as you know how to do a translation and a reflection, you should be good.